Hey there viewers, and welcome back to the South Main Auto Channel. Got the 2018 Nissan Titan. It's got the big 5.6 and it needs a really simple job, and that is replacing a couple headlight bulbs. Guy wants them all done. So I bought the high beams, I bought the low beams. Had him drop it off. He was on his way to work this morning, saw he had a headlight. I was like, yeah, no big deal, stop by, well, boom, 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 we'll pop a bulb in it. Then I looked in service data and it said something else. Flat rate on this is 1.6 hours. You have to remove the grill, you have to remove the upper fascia, I believe they called it, and then, you know, remove the headlight assemblies and then replace the bulbs and put it back together. And this is all in Nissan service data, so you can go look this up yourself. Not seen the vehicle and, you know, not knowing how it's put together, you know, sometimes you get your hands in there and you can, you know, get them in. I'm assuming I need that kind of time slot, you know, over an hour and a half, you know, tear this thing apart. However, this is where it gets a little complicated, and this is what we're going to start seeing in the industry, if you will, or with cars. And this could be your car too. So on this vehicle, it tells you to remove the grille, remove the upper fascia, remove the headlights, change bulbs. The front grille, not on this model, but on the fancier model, has the front forward facing camera for the bird's eye view, for your parking view. Anytime, it's according to service data, if you remove the grille and reinstall it, you have to recalibrate or fine tune adjust the bird's eye view. Okay, well that's, you know, an extra cost on top of replacing the bulbs. So we have 1.6 hours at whatever the labor rate of the shop is. You have the cost of the bulbs at whatever the shop charges for the bulbs. You know, the bulbs, they're just regular halogen H11s and 9005, so they're not terribly expensive. You know, 40 bucks or something for a pair. So let's say you have $80 in bulbs. Let's just round that up. Say 40 bucks for the two low beams, 40 bucks for the two high beams. Let's say they're $80. 1.6 hours, or $100 an hour at my shop, so that's 160 bucks. And then the static calibration, whatever your shop charges for a static calibration. In this case, I just called another shop who does ADAS calibration. That's what they specialize in. Static calibrations, dynamic calibrations, anything you need calibrated ADAS wise. And in this case, it was a $250 charge. Granted, we could do this in our shop, you know, we could do it in a, you know, parking spot, or we could, you know, set up the stuff, you know, set up the lines on the floor. If you look in service data, they tell you to use, you know, packing tape or masking tape. They give you the dimensions, you set up the lines, and then you can calibrate the camera. So just for the heck of it, and because I'm terrible with math, we're gonna bust out a calculator here. And let's say we have $160 for our labor charge. We have a $250 static adjustment, you know, fine tune adjustment on the bird's eye view. And then we have the $80 for the bulb. So that's $490. We have an 8% sales tax here in the PRNY. So that gives us a total of $529.20 to replace your light bulbs. So think about that, let that set in. And this is not uncommon. You know, if we have, what if this has, you know, radar, adaptive cruise radar, all sorts of stuff now is getting mounted in front of these grills. You know, I mean, it could be something you're bringing in to do an AC condenser. And now you have to have a calibration done. You know, if $530 is a big pill to swallow for a light bulb that 15 years ago cost us the 40 bucks, and if your mechanic was cool, you just went out in the parking lot and popped it in for you. Anyhow, I just wanted to bring that up, and not throwing shade at you know, somebody who charges $250 to do a static you know, alignment or anything, because that's all necessary and it's in service data. I mean, it's part of the procedure of the car per the manufacturer. So I'm just not making this up or being finicky like, oh yeah. Granted, you might snap it all back together and, you know, everything lines up perfect. You know, anyhow. I say all that to say this, I don't think we have to tear any of this crap apart to put bulbs in. I'm pretty sure we can pop the fender liner out and just put them in there and avoid that whole scene. Will there still be a charge? Absolutely. I got to bring the car in, put it on a lift, you know, peel back the fender liner. There's still going to be some time into it, whether it's, you know, 15 minutes aside, I don't know. But I just wanted to make you aware that if you call the shop, because I've never seen this truck, If you called me and says, how much are you gonna charge me to put bulbs in this? And it's something I'm not familiar with. All I have to go off from is service data. What does service data say? And that would reflect my price. This guy never asked me for a price, so it doesn't really matter. Granted, I'm not gonna charge him, the 500 whatever dollars, but potentially if you call the shop and say, can I get an estimate on this? And it's a shop that's willing to give it a, sight unseen estimate, don't be surprised if you start seeing numbers like this. And there is a host of cars, like I say, that this is common. A simple light bulb technology hasn't changed, if it's still halogen, we'll say. However, the process has, so hang on, folks, it's gonna be a bumpy ride. Truthfully, if this fella had asked me, what it's gonna cost to put this in, I, being a, regular customer or whatever, I would tell him what it says in service. Well, here's what it says. Here's what the flat rate guide says. How about this? How about you bring the car by? Let's look at it, before we take it to the stupid level, and see what we see. Is this necessary to remove all of the stuff that it says in service data, or is there a way that we can sneak our meat nuggets in there and do it a little bit easier and avoid all of the calibrations? Granted, calibrating the bird's eye view is not, or fine tuning it is not, overly complicated or beyond most shops, because it's, it's a scan tool function. However, I think if we do this, bingo bango, there's your light bulbs, they're right there. So it's easy to do this. But why in this case does service data have you tear apart, disassemble the entire front end of the car, 1.6 hours for something that potentially takes, only minutes? Just like that, you could avoid your $600 charge. And this is not true in all cases. Why do I pretend like I can see? I don't know. 9005 long life, Sylvania. Push that in there. Don't touch the ball, baby. Come on. There's that. There's our one headlight bulb. Well, you can also reach the high beam. Whoa, dude. The high beam is also easily accessible, and we're going to change all of these, because if one has gone, the others are not going to be long for the world. And there's our high beam, so that's a piece of cake. I'm sorry, this is our low beam. That's our H11. It's the upper one. But I think we'll end this video here. Perhaps there's already videos on this on the internet. I don't know, because I don't look. I like to think I'm unique. Mrs. O tells me I'm unique. At any rate, we'll leave it at that, folks. Unique or not, this is the direction that our industry is turning. Like it or not, that's just the way it's going. Whether or not, a shop actually performs the required calibrations that are put out by the manufacturer when they're doing a certain job, when they're removing bumper covers, when they're doing AC condensers and, removing grills and reinstalling them, that's up to the, the independent shop. You do read these stories of these shops, getting dragged to the cleaners because, they didn't do a calibration. They have no documentation of it. The car gets in an accident and it's, guess what? It comes back on the shop and there's this huge liability attached to it. I don't know, but this is just the way it's going. You can't change it. You can't stop it. This is the way the automotive world is going. And this thing's old. I mean, this is an 8-year-old vehicle. So, in New York terms, that's old. 10 years, trucks are junk. This thing's pretty clean though. So just think about that, particularly in areas like, in the Salt Belt, here in the Northeast, where cars just dissolve, people aren't driving old stuff, you're not getting away, unless you're going in the South and buying one anyhow. But generally speaking, the cars that people are driving are most cases, 12 years old and newer, we'll say, because in 10 years, they're pretty well ready for the crusher, as you've seen in most of our videos. Anything that old is usually pretty well junk and super crusty. So stuff like this is, you know, it's fine, you know, I take care of it, but it's also discouraging because I know people who can't afford this. You know, I know people who drive, who work for a living, who sustain their household, but they would be considered low income. You know, low income housing, you know, it just is what it is, whether, you know, for whatever reason. Even, I would say, low to middle class. You show up at a shop and I tell you it's $500 to $1,000 to change a headlight bulb, give me a break. You know, this is the difference of, are we gonna get our car fixed or are we gonna buy groceries? You know, so it's just, it's silly things like this. Silly nonsense items. But like I said, in this case, we have a workaround, so we're not going to rant and rave about it too much longer. This one's a piece of cake, but it's coming, baby. Why don't you guys come at me in that comment section, Insty, the Facebook. Let me know what you think about the direction that the industry is changing and what it's going to take to even do a simple job like this and what it potentially could cost. Just remember, viewers, if I can do it, you can do it. Thanks for watching.